Hi guys, how are you? My name is Wajiha Jindut, and this is a continuation on the video I sent up on how we healed our home and escaped narcissism. Okay, now in the previous video where I was talking about facing this thing with my parents, where there would be so much subduing and just a lot of control, even though I realize now that parents don't even realize what they're doing. They just set in their ways and they want things to happen their way. Okay, I express this as an old spirit, okay? And I would want to talk a bit about that, because this is demonic spirit sent against the family, so that the family becomes so toxic and the children become so unhealthy, okay? So children coming out of this place will not be confident. Some will not know who they are, and even if they know who they are, they'll be, set against even the siblings, okay? So the children who get along with the parents who want to, press the other siblings down, for lack of a better word, but it's like now being controlling even to the other siblings, treating each other as if each one doesn't have their own personality, okay? And for each child, it will affect them a different way, okay? Because each child is made a different way. So the firstborn, usually, due to this spirit, will want to be in cahoots with the parents, be so obedient, follow the rules, and force the others to do the same. Because the other siblings that follow will want to emulate what the firstborn is doing, and also be more respectful of the firstborn, because as the first ones who go ahead in life, they seem to be in the know, okay? So the other siblings will want to be associated, and also because even when children are different and they speak against what is happening in the family, they still want to be accepted, and they still want to be what is the word? They still want to be affirmed. They still want to know that they are normal, okay? Until now, when they come into their own and they're like, I don't care about being normal. I am who I am. I am good, okay? Now, you don't want your child to come into that and never remember a time where you affirmed them yourself, okay? So children are always looking up to us. They want to be affirmed. They want you to see them as who they are and just, talk about, their greatness, okay? So that even when you're telling them about their weaknesses, they are more accepting because they're secure in your love. They know my mom thinks I'm beautiful as I am, okay? As I am, not compared to so and so, okay? Now in my family, I have this one light-skinned child and the brothers are darker, okay? So you would think, according to our African standards, where we've been such colorists, we should be ashamed of ourselves, so we think the light-skinned child is more beautiful, or the figureful child is, superior in so many ways. And that has led to a lot of dysfunction, okay, in the family and now in the society, okay? So some people even get confidence just because of how they look, okay? So nothing in them, they don't value anything else in themselves. They don't build from their own value and inner strength. They build from how they look. And it is just deception. It is just ugly, because each child, beautiful or not, should be built up to find what, their gift is, yeah? And even though God sometimes will use the beauty so that when you appear somewhere, you're recognized for whatever purpose is yours, still that should not be a factor on how you are treated at home, okay? So no child should look down on themselves because they are thin, or they are big, or they have brawn, or they have a good figure or beauty. That is the fallacy of beauty. In Proverbs 31, at the very end, it says, charm is deceptive. So this thing that you learn how to talk and charm everybody and lie to them so that you get an advantage with them, yeah? All these things that kids have to learn in order to cope in the society, because that is what they saw the parents do, yeah? They saw you praising people, and it was a lie. You're telling your friends how beautiful they look. As soon as they walk out, you're like, this woman doesn't even know how to dress. She looks ridiculous in that. Your children who are watching you, they learned how to lie. They learned how to give false compliments. They learned the same about themselves, and they will lie to their friends, you know, just to feel like they belong. In Proverbs 31, 30, let's read from 29 or 28. Yeah, her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. There are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. Reward her for all she has done. Let her deeds publicly declare her. Now, as much as this is said about the woman, there are so many places where we see the man's strength considered, and what a good man actually does. He causes the family to be blessed under him because he fears the Lord and acts according to his precepts. If you read from the beginning of Proverbs, it is this man talking to his son and just guiding him, okay? And then we see at the very end the mom to Lemuel talking about to him about what kind of a man he should be, what kind of a king he should be, not given to drink, and you know, just being out of control, and also talking about what a blessed woman looks like, okay? So we are all expected to be like the Proverbs 31 woman, without going through the process, without being supported at home, without seeing that from our, you know, mothers and grandmothers and all of that. And that is what the curse is supposed to do, okay? So when I talk about the altars we were fighting, it was everything that was set, you know, against us, okay? So our parents, our grandparents were supposed to be strong and mighty in their land, but they were not. We would see meekness, we would see them being taken advantage of, we would see them attacked, right? And they would attack right back. Let me tell you, when a person is not thriving in their field, out there in the marketplace and wherever, who do they attack? The people at home. And when it is children, it is just despicable to God. He hates it. He hates what has been happening, and that is why he has a reason to show us mercy, okay? So by you know, by supporting the children and showing you how amazing and you know, just how important the children are, especially when brought up under a good shelter, okay? He shows you what is important to you. It's not the labor, you know, because the labor, you can labor all day and still not be able to build, as we read in Psalms 127, okay? Now, even when Jesus was on earth and he was teaching, the apostles, because of their training in that society, they would look at the children. In every society, we think the children to be lesser, okay? They would look at the children coming up to Jesus because they were attracted by the Spirit in him, of course, and they would say, you pesky little, you know, they didn't say that, but they would send the children away, and Jesus would say, no, let the children come to me, for to them the kingdom of God belongs, okay? Your children are so important, but nobody told you that, yeah? So as you're trying to fit in with the Joneses, be in the social circles where you're recognized, you leave your children behind, you leave your children under very, you know, unprotected with other people. And while you may not be there all the time, a person who fears the Lord, trust me, your children will be protected. There's so many evils in the society that they will not come to. Just because you're affiliated with God, he will be their protector. You may think that God let this happen. God let our children be abused. God let our children be raped. Do you know even these abusers observe the children who are not taken care of? Do you know that? Okay. And so while we are chasing the bag, while we want to be these, you know, multimillionaires, so that we may be praised by our friends who actually God will prove to you in the journey don't care about you. Okay. They're seeking to be affiliated with you because of what they can get. Nobody is with you because they love you. Hardly ever. Okay. We come together because of maybe the altars that are attracting us together, or because there's this grand plan. We may benefit if we stay together, okay? But now wake up, because your children, your family is what will raise strong and mighty children who can be able to fit in the society, and they will not be taken advantage of, neither will they take advantage of other people. Now we may talk day and night about how narcissistic some people are, how narcissistic some men are. Who made those men? Okay, what was the home like? because a toxic home will build narcissistic children, narcissistic mothers, narcissistic daughters and sons-in-law, narcissistic your husband or your wife, you know. So we have to be very careful and do things God's way. Why God even speaks against the narcissistic person and you know, causes for you to break up with these people, narcissistic people, is because he cannot stand control. Control is witchcraft. There are many sources and forms of witchcraft and narcissism, and control is one of them, okay? So your children are attached to you, they came through you, but you're not supposed to control them. They are God's little beings, and he has a purpose for them. If you control your children, you're controlling what their purpose should be, okay? Some people have been known to just dictate what their children should study, okay? What, where, when, who their friends should be, and all of this. Let me tell you something about coming into this spiritual age by God's grace and mercy is knowing before, like when you get you know, across some people, you know God will show you, are these good people, are these bad people, okay? And while he expects you to treat each person as good, there are people he will make you push away because they don't belong with you. That is what happens when you stayed in the process. Some people get it early because they're in their blessing. Yeah, he is training you, okay? So you must adhere to his training. So where was I? Tamo is going to college and we are so at arms, you know, about what he's going to do. We want different for him, but he's very steadfast, and he's, of course, he knows we don't have the kind of money that is required to pay for his college, okay? So I didn't win that battle. So they all decided he should take a gap year. Me, as I was becoming, you know, I was semi-narcissistic, okay? So I will call a meeting and ask everybody, what do you think? When they are all in support, I go crazy. Or now I begin to learn, okay? Shut up and learn, okay? Now, I remember one time we went somewhere as a family and, you know, Tamo had his hair out. By this time, I'm used to it. I love it. I love how he does things. I'm in admiration, and I begin saying, so he's getting confident, you know, even though I had seen, like, sometimes he will, you know, be affected by, you know, the society, okay? So these people who are people, you know, and I must say that they were, you know, people, Africans, right? So Tamwa, because now he's allowed to speak, okay? I mean, so much admiration I've been learning from him. And as he speak and people react, I'm like, by the way, I like this guy because he's a truth speaker, okay? So, like, first things first, you need to know this. I am accepting of my child. So whatever you think, you know, or whatever you say, just know, first thing, I'm accepting of my child, okay? Now, I can tell you, one time we went to church, yeah? And in the very first service that we attended this church, I would learn later because one of the parents there would hear some women leaders talking, and they were discussing that my children have dreadlocks, okay? So she was like, be careful because this was said about your children. The very first service. Okay. So this is church where we read in the Bible of mighty men of God who wore dreadlocks and all of that, yeah? But in church, we believe that there is this spirit, okay? So for me, it had been this journey of recognizing that there's a spirit in church, okay? That will instead of being patient with the people who are growing, the young people who are growing, they will talk against your children if they're wearing dreadlocks, but they will hug grown men who are coming in dreadlocks, okay? So they know they can't say anything to this grown person or this grown woman. Maybe with women, they will, you know, jest and talk like, oh, why are you wearing dreadlocks and such things. So many other issues, not just dreadlocks, yeah? But I felt like this place is demonic. How do you dare talk against kids? I had been, you know, through such churches where children are not let to be themselves, okay? So, yeah, they spoke against my children. It was an ex. I stayed a bit longer. And then it was like God now showing me what spirit is here, okay? Maybe one day we'll talk about it. So, yeah, so this time, Tamwa did away with dreadlocks. He has this afro, okay? he will pass through a mirror and say, oh my God, I am beautiful. Okay, so those things will rub people wrong, especially people in our society who are not used to such things, or people seeing and recognizing their beauty, speaking about it, and their parents laughing. They're like, you should stop this child. This child will be vain and all of that. And if you've done a journey with your child who is different, very blessed, different, you know, you will if you're conscious as a parent, you'll be very supporting of this child, okay? Because you know it's a process. He will change his colors so much before he becomes who God wants him to be. And once now you've seen that God, you know, is supporting and is for your child, even when you're not, you learn to shut up and just support and just be in awe and stand back and know this child is not as much as they're a reflection of me and they come from me, they are an individual who God has great plans for. He said to Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not evil, to give you a future and a hope. So your faith should inform how you treat your children. If you're controlling, then you want them to be how you think is right. What do you know? Okay, so yeah, so Tamwa is speaking in these circles, and you know, guys are like, oh, you shouldn't speak like that. You should be sensitive about what you say about other people. And so I'm like, for me, it's been so healing. It's been so eye-opening to hear this child, because they are an arrow. They've gone ahead. They've learned what they've learned. Yeah, I can only be privy to what they've learned if I listen and learn. Why am I panicking that he said something that's going to be earth-shattering? Why am I panicking if he says things in front of these strangers that I'm meeting, maybe perhaps the first day, or you know, even if I know them? Why am I panicking when he says something they don't find palatable? Or yeah, what is it about them that they may not accept something new? Okay, so it's a you problem. My child will be my child, okay? If he's speaking, and you see, this is the way even in families, we cannot accept this child who thinks different, talks different, speaks their mind, okay? But now this child is budding from a person who was looking like a victim, a person I wasn't understanding. They are budding, they're walking tall and beautiful, okay? And as much as I'm not talking about all the beauty every day, I'm like, hey, don't just focus on this. You know, you're greater, you're more talented, you're going places. I realized other people may not understand, okay? And so even when he's doing his own thing, I see like when people accept him, he's like, oh my God, I was talking to this person and they said, oh, they thought I'm so bright. And I'm like, why is it occurring to you just now? And I can't keep recounting of the damage I could have caused when I didn't think he's great, or when I didn't say how great he is, you know. And when I thought that maybe being great is a reflection of how he carries himself at home, how he cleans for us, you know, how he does everything, not understanding that this boy is building towards his future, and so are his brothers, okay? So whatever I say for him is included. I'm learning, seeing them for all their different, you know, gifts and talents, seeing them for all their weaknesses, and knowing that, you know, they're growing. It won't happen overnight, okay? And so I would see sometimes, you know, when life is beating him, when he's not a giant, focused on his beauty and all that, because there would be times, you know, storms would batter him, you know. As you're growing, that will happen. And when he's down on himself and he's thinking, people saw something in him, you know, I would be more affirming, okay? Now, as I said, Tamo is the one you're taking to the train station with only 10 minutes to spare. You're so scared because there's speed limits and all that. He will not leave the house early and all of that. So, of course, these things are very upsetting, you know, or he won't give you his schedule, and then he's like, where are you? I need to be taken somewhere. So very, very upsetting. And you're like, why can't you communicate? Okay. And so I realized you do not win this child of flies. You do not catch flies with vinegar. You catch them with, you know, honey. Okay. So you know, as much as I would raise these you know, issues, and you know, with other kids, you see, like my younger one, he will send me, he will make a Google calendar of his schedule, so I know when he's going where and what time and all of that. So I organize myself. Tamwa would act like you do not have a life, you know. you're there, you know, I can interrupt. If he finds you not there, he'll be like, where are you? You knew I was going. I do not know you're going. Where is your schedule? Why don't you even write it with a pen and put on the fridge so that I know, okay? There's no way I can have your schedule in mind. So a bit self-absorbed, you know, a lot self-absorbed, yeah? A lot self-absorbed. And this now would be informing me of how I used to act in some places, you know. If I go somewhere and we are accepted, I expect even without making any effort, I would be accepted the same way, okay? So people who have issues with themselves, they will react like, why are you abusing us? And you're like, what abuse? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this way, okay? So this will be teachers, this will be churches, where you act inconsiderate because you're not even used to having a plan or scheduling yourself. While other people will learn, you won't learn because you're not supposed to. Okay, you look like a slow learner, but all these things are happening so that you learn from people what effect you are, because as a different person or a chosen child, you're supposed to see through as a mirror, you know, you're supposed to see other people mirroring your behavior to understand how wrong it is. And let me tell you, when you're sent somewhere, whether it is a church or something, as a chosen person with all these weaknesses and problems and how you carry yourself funny, you're a reflection of them, because that is how they act to other people, okay? So you go out sending karma, you go out mirroring behavior so that other people may learn, okay? So every time you see even people react, you know, act up in an uproar, it is you, okay? You are them. You're reflecting every bad thing in them. And that is why they can't stand it, because they feel sometimes, I've grown this much, yeah? I should not be facing these challenges. But let me tell you what happens when you grow. When you come to another side and yeah, you've learned all these things, you've corrected your behavior, you have awakened from your slumber, okay? And now you realize how God is using you, and you realize there's nothing special about you being used by God. When he sends you among his own, is because he wants them to correct their behavior, okay? So just because you are used as a vessel to correct somebody else's behavior doesn't mean that you're better than them, okay? You may be like, oh my God, yeah, that was close, okay, and that person now got to learn, because sometimes God will take you back to see how the other person had to improve because they came across you, okay, and you do not know it, but you whipped them into shape, okay? So this thing that is happening at workplaces, at church, at home, or at other places will be happening first at home, okay? This child has been sent to teach you, to rid you of your narcissistic behaviors and actions, where you find that even a mother at home wants to be so controlling of the father, of the children, of the helps, you know. So you're not well balanced. This child will call it out, and that is how you get to learn, because you don't go to school for all these things, yeah? In the Gikuyu culture, we say, "Wade orehageriode." So whatever you've ever done will be done to you for you to learn, okay? So you won't leave the earth without having learned, okay? So, you know, as I realize what is happening, and that maybe the harsh things I come across, my child will have to go through in order to learn, I realize that now by affirming him, I'll be healing him so that he doesn't have to be a vessel like I was all the time, okay? And so I start affirming him. When he's late, I'm like, you do realize that this, when you're late like this, you know, we will not make it on time, or even if we make it on time, I've had to break some rules, okay? You know, the traffic around here, these are things you should consider. So being gentle and teaching, okay? Even when you're angry, you have to come out of yourself, right? Out of your ego. It is not about you. This child is being themselves. This child is actually struggling with their schedule, with their organization. Sometimes even the work is overwhelming, especially when the child is an artist, okay? Or in the arts. Whatever your child is doing is just hard. If you've seen like the journey I've drawn up of having, you know, been rejected in places, the work is so hard. And as a chosen one, like if God is using you to show the journey, like I'm showing you the journey of the people abroad, I get extra tired. It's like you know, wherever you go, you are unequally yoked with the people, okay? So what happens when you're unequally yoked? You get extra tired. And you must remember, From where you're coming from, you've been broken off from people who, even though you felt like you were late, these people haven't made it. Okay, so they're pulling at you like, do not forget us. They're demanding things. You know, some, even in your family, are like in-laws, but have you paid the dowry? Okay, so there's all these demands on you. You get extra tired mentally, physically. There's no healing for you. What will you pour on your child? Too much. And so when you go through this journey and God has shown you all these things and you've learned, you've been faithful in learning. Some of you do not know it, but you've done a good job and God is proud of you. Do you know now what you're allowed to do? And this is something I learned in this season, because I always used to think that God's people are supposed to accommodate all the time. Okay. Now I learned, if somebody is attacking my child who I'm supposed to take care of, if somebody is speaking in turn, if somebody is making observations about his hair, his style and whatever, it is not your duty to point out. Like, you're not even living with him, so you do not even know as much, okay? So if somebody is making like, you know, negative comments, if somebody is encroaching on my space where they're not supposed to, if somebody is not respecting boundaries, because if I cannot talk about your child, whether to you or to somebody else, you're not allowed to talk about mine. Even if you think they are weird, okay? Where are these weird children supposed to go? Okay? And not to say they are weird. They are mighty. They are blessed and highly favored, okay? So if this child is different from what you think should be, and you speak to me about how you think my child should be, blocked. Okay, there'll be many other reasons that cause you to be blocked, but I'm just saying, you know. So God has called us to our families, for our families, and in setting things correctly, you know, you will be healing even generations to come. Now, yeah, this is the time I realized that God was showing me, yeah, you've been a people pleaser. You've listened to what other people say and you want to structure your family accordingly. But what do I say? I gave you this child. This child is a gift. Now, looking at somebody like Tamua from the beginning, even when we were pregnant, God led us to his name. What does his name mean? Kuona furaha, to see happiness. Do you think your child is happy? No. Why isn't he happy? Is it because of you? Because I will judge you if this child who I gave you as a gift is not happy in this home. Okay? So correct your behavior. Learn from this child what I have allowed him to learn. Okay? Now I have to tell you something. I live in Worcester. It's a small town. That is what I can manage. Even driving in Worcester sometimes will be scary to me. This child navigates Boston. Well, as much as it's not New York, this child navigates Boston like it's nothing. I call it the city of Tamua. When I'm there, I cower. I'm like, oh my God, this is too big for me. When I'm even passing through the tunnels, I'm like so scared. I'm like, I cannot do this every day. I cannot drive here every day. Clearly, this is not my city. Tamua would thrive there, you know. He would thrive in a city. I can't. Okay, so like God knew I will place Wanyiha here and she will thrive here. She'll be okay here. Okay, around nature. Worcester is known for its foliage throughout, you know, the year. And this child thrives in city. As much as I love the city, only in small portions. Do you understand? So I'm using this one as an example to tell you that your child is unique and special for a reason. They're not a reflection of you. They're not hurting your ego unless you have problems that you need to work out. Okay. And so in learning this, I'm learning to talk to my child in a more gentle way. I'm not challenging for who he is. You know, if he's dressed weird, it's not a reflection of me. Okay. He's the one who has to walk the streets like that. Okay. I will proudly drop him wherever I have to drop him and watch him go. Even sometimes now hoot and be like, bye, you know. Kisses, you know, because now by healing, God has awakened this true love in me, and I don't think this is a challenge to my person, okay, because I have me to build and he has him, which is a very challenging job that will take many years for him to become you know, what God intends for him to become, and him and his brothers. Okay, so even when I see the challenges, even with the others, I know how to navigate. I feel like this was the hardest to conquer, and I realized by the time I'm taking a rest or coming down from dealing with turmoil. I'm seeing the brothers and all the challenges they have, and it's very easy to focus on one child and not the others, okay? And so when you see all these different issues that they are raising, take it as a privilege that God is teaching you who your children are and how special he has made them. Sometimes we say, not sometimes, all the time we say that the children do not come with a manual. They do. It is their differences, okay? It is who they are as a people. That's the manual, and that's for you to find out. It's quite an adventure. I challenge you to do the same. Mine is not a perfectly done work. I'm still learning every day and just asking for guidance whenever I'm not able. I have seen God to be so faithful that when I go into my closet with the name of a child in mind, God is going to faithfully show me that he has worked whatever thing I was worried about. So do my children even help at home? They will cook. They will do things. They will vacuum. It's not perfect. It's not all the time, yeah? I remember in a forum, I was talking about that my husband taught me not to force my children to do chores. And people were like, oh, you have to train your children. These are the simplest things to do in life. You'll be shocked when your children leave and they do better than you. They keep their house cleaner than yours, okay? I see the things that God, or maybe in a way we taught our children even without knowing. You can tell each person's character. You can tell how careful they are with their things, yeah? So you know that either you or God taught them by laying back, by stepping back and removing the pressure out of this person, out of this child, you actually heal, okay? Someday, God willing, and I'll have to get the data from my husband, we will talk about how to heal, especially because where we've come from, there's a lot of anxiety that builds in us, and we bring it all to our families, to our husbands, to our spouses, to our children, okay? To our workers, okay? And it becomes just a mess, okay? That is what the devil intends, for you to create messes. But God has another plan, especially for this generation. He wants to set you free and set you into the blessings he intends for you. Good news is that blessings will last for ages, for thousands of years, especially if you tell your people about the merciful God that you have known, that took them all the way here, or to wherever God has taken your family, healed them, healed you as a nation, taught you in the things taught you even to humble and listen to them and watch them grow, so that as they increase, you decrease, and it's a beautiful thing, okay? There's no shame in that. So I'm gonna leave you there, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.